1, 2, 3, 4. You're right, but that's good.
Well, Tom's here in the village hall. So there's 5.
I only have 4 pictures in front of me.
Yeah, there's 3 of us sitting here at the village hall.
Oh, okay. All right.
I pronounce.
We got Mr. Schuster yet? Our Kingdom for a cable. We're looking for a cable. John's going on live now. It's not you, it's something down here. He's pulling people up now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll talk to you shortly. See you later. Okay, sure thing. Bye. There he is. There.
Hey, there he is.
Okay.
Problem solved? Looks
I hope
like,
so.
all right.
Okay, it is 7:30, and according to the governor's proclamation of the pandemic and the change of the Open Meetings Act, we are allowed to conduct this meeting via remote video and audio, as long as there is a member of the board present at the village hall, which there is, myself being here. Tom Merkel, the trustee, is also here, and Anthony Mills, the village clerk, is also here. So we conform with those. We'll have a roll call and call the meeting to order, please.
Pledge allegiance first.
No, call the, okay. I'll do the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dadley,
Here.
Mr. Perino,
Here.
Mr. Nimitz,
Here.
Mr. Zamba, Mr. Merkel,
Here.
Mr. Harney.
Here.
5 out of 6, you have a quorum.
We have a quorum, we have a meeting, we can move forward. First item on the agenda is the minutes from February 16th, 2021. We have a motion to so approve. So moved.
Second, Diatley.
Moved by Merkel, seconded by Diatley. Are there any corrections to the minutes of February 16th, 2021? Hearing no corrections, roll call, please.
Mr. Dadley,
Aye.
Mr. Perino,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Merkel,
Abstain.
Mr. Harney.
Aye.
Okay, we've got, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4 affirmatives, 1 abstention. Motion so passes. Okay, next item on the agenda is the president's report. First and foremost, we have had a request from a resident for the use of the village's tax exempt number. The individual requesting it is purchasing the speed radar sign for Miss Mona Hour on Sleepy Hollow Road. And they have asked to use the village's tax exemption on the sales tax for that speed radar. I personally.
Could you stop for a second, President Pickett? There's a lot of feedback.
For this evening.
And what's all that music?
What? We've got.
There's a lot of background music for some reason.
We're having a party.
Somebody, something cut in there.
Okay, are we all right?
I think we're good now.
Yes.
Sounds better.
Did we just get flashed? No? Okay. All right, back to the item of discussion. authorizing a village resident to utilize the village tax exemption on the purchase of the speed radar sign. I said, I'd start to say, personally, I didn't feel that that was a decision for me to make. I thought that should be something the board should decide. Living the use of this tax exempt number is a little dicey, but I understand it is feasible in some situations, and this might be one of them. What is the board's thought on this?
I would look to Mr. Schuster for guidance.
Who actually is going to own the speed radar device?
It will be given to the village. So I guess you could say we will end up being the owners of the device.
Sorry.
Give us
I would have no problem with it as long as it's a one-time use with authorization being approved first, as long as it's okay by, like Tom said, if Mr. Schuster believes that's a okay thing to do, as long as it benefits the residents of the village, I would have no problem with it being a one-time use as long as it's authorized by the board.
I feel the same way, Steve.
I would have no objection. I'm assuming there's no other strings attached. It's just the village is buying the sign for the village.
Mark, did you have any comments to make on that?
It was my suggestion first that the village actually make the purchase and have the resident reimburse or directly pay for the item, but she doesn't want to do it that way. I've seen this done before. I haven't looked at it in probably 10 or 15 years. So I'd want a chance to look at the law. But if you want to give the go-ahead subject to my review and approval, that'd be one way to go at this. Or wait 2 weeks and get a report from me.
That sounds fine.
Wait 2 weeks or go ahead and approve it,
Yeah, it's,
awaiting his report?
Yeah, I think I propose approving it and
Okay.
Hey, guys, can I ask again another point of order? I don't know if it's my computer, but I can hear people talking.
Yeah, so can I.
Yeah, we're all getting it.
We're getting it too.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
trying. I'm on it.
Give
we
our
all log
guys-
off and try again.
No, it's actually you guys are hearing yourself.
Oh, it's feedback.
It's feedback.
Oh, it's a YouTube delay. Trying to
Okay.
find. Well, that doesn't sound like the
That doesn't sound like YouTube.
That's a woman's voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to read Hamlet. Oh, come on. Choose here. Oh, beware, my lord, jealousies.
I'm dumbfounded where that's coming from.
Beach. Sorry, it's supposed to be on a hand.
Is there someone else on the meeting that, aside from the trustees and myself? Any other participants?
No,
Doesn't look like it.
No.
So,
Quiet now.
Yeah.
Here they go.
there it is again. So somebody's on the frequency, as they would say. What if we all log off and come back? Is that an option, John?
I'll just keep closing stuff down. But I've closed down all the other feeds.
Well, let's give it a try.
Well, it's better right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So could you just recap briefly, Mr. Schuster, again about the tax exempt number?
Yes, I can. My comment was that I've seen it done in the past, but haven't looked at it in probably 15 years. So I would want to have a chance to just look over, see if anything's changed. Remind myself of how it happened 15 years ago. But in general, I mean, the idea is that this property is going to be public property, and there would be some savings to the purchaser if it was purchase tax exempt. I really don't know why she wouldn't let the village issue the invoice and just her supply the money, but she doesn't want to do it that way.
Okay,
Thank
Mr. Merkel has proposed that we go ahead and approve the use of our tax number to the individual with the caveat that Mr. Schuster will look into it and get back to me within the next day or two. If it's illegal or there's a problem with it, then we'll go to the next meeting. If not, we'll go ahead and give the authorization.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, moved by Merkel, seconded by Diatley to authorize the use of the village's sales tax exemption by a specific individual for the purchase of the speed radar sign. Any further comments, questions, or discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Mr. Merkel,
Aye.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Moreno,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Harney.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the motion so passes. Okay, the next item is a report on the changes to the sanitary sewer system due to the Fox River Water Reclamation District modifications. If you all recall, last fall, West Dundee sent us a demand letter asking the village to pay something like $52,000 annually going forward for the capital improvement projects that were being performed by Forward on the sanitary system in Elgin. It had come to West Dundee's attention that we were supposed to contribute to that fund and that we had not been contributing to it. So they wanted to get everything straightened around and get us on board with that. Mr. Schuster and I took a look into it. We took a field trip down to Forward, learned all about phosphates and the cleaning of sewage for the release of it back into the river. Found out that yes, it is in fact true that they are doing the improvements. We checked with West Dundee. There was some question on the figuring of the fee. It turned out that the $52,000 was incorrect. The actual amount comes in to be more like $20,600. Let's just say $21,000 for round number purposes. This is a fee that we do owe, and we will owe going forward to the village of West Dundee. However, in determining all this, we found a bunch of other tentacles tied to this situation. One being the fact that the inventory of the sewer system and the connections needs to be done, and some agreements between Sleepy Hollow and West Dundee need to be reviewed. So last week, Mr. Schuster and I met with West Dundee's representatives, and we came to the conclusion that yes, something needs to be done. There's too much of it for us to accomplish in one afternoon. What we did agree, though, was that the village of Sleepy Hollow does owe West Dundee funds for the capital improvements performed by Forward. And we will start making those payments with the budget coming up in May, the fiscal year 2022 budget. And we will go forward from that point. All the other ancillary discussions in regards to the sewer system, we have agreed that we will revisit in the next 60 days to address. So that is basically where we stand today. Henceforth, there's a couple of little items in there, but henceforth, the village of Sleepy Hollow will make annual payments for the next 20 years of some $21,000 to West Dundee for the improvements that were performed on the equipment by Forward. At the moment, there is some, as I said, there's a bunch of ancillary questions that need to go along with this. One of them is the billing of the apartments in KinderCare. And since West Dundee has been collecting that billing for the last few years, they have just, told us that they will credit us a portion of those funds that they collected from those apartments to go towards this infrastructure fee from Forward. So the first year, we will only owe about $5,000 because there's about a $15,000 credit with the apartments at this point. And so they will give that to us this first year. The payments will be June and December, $10,000 each. So what West Dundee's proposing is we'll get $10,000 of that credit in June. We will get another, the other $5,000 in credit toward the December bill, which will then leave us with roughly $5,000 in change to pay. But in the year hence, or the years hence, we will owe the $21,000 annually, or well, twice a year. But it will need to be in our budget for the sewer department to make that payment for the next 20 years. Oh,
Can I ask one question?
sure.
The payment's 5,000 this year and then 21,000. Will that come out of our general funds?
No, that will come out of the sewer department. The
Okay.
sewer is what they call an enterprise fund.
Okay.
It's a separate entity. It has its
Okay.
own budget.
My question is, will the residents who have these sewers, will they bear the cost, or will the village as a whole bear the cost?
The residents that are on the system will bear the cost
Okay.
because it only benefits them.
Okay.
That's, that's the way it's set up now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way it seems like it should be.
It should be. The question at this point is, does West Dundee continue to bill the apartments in KinderCare, or should that come to Sleepy Hollow? And in which case, then there will be some revisions of the billing practices with the village, with our system to include the apartments. But, that I said, we got into this last week and it was obvious from the get-go that there's numerous problems with this agreement. It dates back to 1982 and there was a haphazard shot here and there and some adjustments or changes to it. But the one thing that West Dundee and we decided the best was, let's agree that we owe them the money and then move forward in resolving the rest of these issues. So,
Thank you.
sure thing.
And Steve, I know we had a meeting with Kyle and Mark, and I can't remember what's finally resolved. That number, that $20,000 number, is that include the capacity of the apartments in that number, or is that excluding that? Since they're
No,
billing
that
them?
that was our total capacity. That number is based off our capacity.
Right. So the $20,000, part of that capacity is the apartments, and they are not contributing it at all at this point, right?
Well, no, but West Dundee collected almost 4 years of that fee.
Right, but
They're willing to give us credit for that.
Right, but moving forward.
But no, right, moving forward, we will have to redo the billing to account for that with the entire system.
Right, including the apartments.
Right.
Right.
Because
If we get-
as I believe, the apartments are roughly half of our capacity.
Yes.
So
So the number of buildings, including the apartments, would be then the 20,685 would be divided by that total, and then each of those buildings would be assessed a certain fee each year?
Pretty much right.
well, no, we can't do it that way because the apartments are half the capacity. The apartments use half of our capacity, so the apartments would have to be billed more of that to,
Well, if you
be
take the
equitable.
unit count, Joe,
yeah, right. So we're looking at 156 homes and 100
And-
apartments. So,
100 apartments.
yeah,
Right.
so.
And a second follow-up question, are you talking about the apartments and the KinderCare that's on Willow going that way?
No, on Locust. On the top of Locust.
Okay, yes,
Way
okay, on
more
top of
sewer.
locals. Yes, then is the kinder care that is by the new gas station, is that Sleepy Hollow property?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Kinder Care is, early train station across the street is not.
Okay,
Just that little finger where Kinder Care is Sleepy Hollow.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions concerning this situation?
And you say we have 60 days to come to an agreement? Did I hear that correctly?
Well, we think it'll take us 60 days
Okay,
at least.
okay,
All right, part of that effort is to make sure that the list of all users is current and complete. So that effort is going to take some time between the two villages to come to an agreement as to what users are on the line for Sleepy Hollow.
okay.
I'm pretty confident that after we've done 2 surveys now, one before this all started and another one just to match it up again. We found a couple
Right.
errors in there, but I'm pretty confident that 156 users that we have on homes is very accurate right now.
Oh, good.
Kyle, you got that PDF. Do you have any questions? Did you see anything on there at all that was questionable?
No, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I think it's spot on.
Well, one of
Of
the
all the things we've
that-
done, that's the one thing we've done a really nice job. And I did have Wendy pull a few building files to double check, and they were not connected to the sewer. So that should be the easy part of this whole thing.
Good.
Well,
That was-
the list
that's the
of them
first
is
thing.
easy. West Dundee still wants a physical eyes-on inventory of our system. So they're going to be providing a couple of individuals later in the spring when the snow's completely gone. And we will end up with boots on the ground going door to door to physically inspect some of these situations, or most of them. So, yeah, they really want an eyeball on it. They don't want just our count off the paper. So they have
Right, but I
agreed
mean-
that, you know, they will supply some of the manpower. We will have a letter drafted between Sleepy Hollow and West Dundee that will go out to those residents. And all the individuals that will go door to door will be properly identified for those residents to know that it is Sleepy Hollow or West Dundee verifying their sewer connections.
Right, but they don't have to go inside the house. I mean, they can just go and look at the pits because Kyle, how many gravity?
Well, we
ones
may
have?
end up checking inside, Joe. Remember, we've got people that have run sump pumps that are running stormwater into a sanitary sewer, and that's illegal.
Right, but I think that's a different,
That's
gonna be a more
what we're
difficult
gonna
issue,
do
isn't
it.
it,
We're gonna
Kyle?
do it all at one time.
Mark, that was the question we had with the meters. I know in there that we have the right to access that. Do we have the right to access people's basements and crawl space in our ordinances?
Well, I guess we have a right to check our sewer system. So if that leads to some other information, so be it. We'll have
Right,
to
but the
see. There's going to be somebody that will deny access. We'll have to deal with that when it comes up. But
Right, because
I think first, let's go for as much cooperation as we can get. And then let's see, there should be, we're hoping only a few problem residences where we may have to do something to confirm our access rights.
Okay, any other
You can
questions?
get a court order to get in, so.
right, because our
Okay, any
equipment
other
ends outside the
questions,
house,
concerns?
right, Mark?
I'm sorry?
Our equipment ends outside the house, so it's different than the water meters, which are owned by
Most
us.
of it is, right? With the grinder
all- it
pumps
all-
and such?
It's all 100% outside their house.
Well, then we shouldn't have to go inside.
That's what I'm
to
thinking, yeah.
confirm. Well, again, I guess I'm thinking that most of these will be easily confirmed, and then the problem children will be identified. And once we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, between the two villages to figure out either make a second request or figure out how to get a right of access to confirm, get an updated current accurate list of Sleepy Hollow users on the sewer system.
Okay, so that's where we stand with the sewer system at the moment. More on that in the future. The next one is the Elgin sales tax sharing agreement. If you recall, also some months ago, we had an inquiry about a development that was going up on Tollgate Road in along the tollway south of Bonkoski. That is part of the property that is in an intergovernmental boundary agreement with the village or the city of Elgin. And Mr. Schuster's been in touch with them in regards to that. And we've got a couple of items back. Mark, would you care to brief the board on this, please?
Well, sure. First of all, it's more than this sales tax agreement. It's a boundary line agreement that has in the past included sales tax sharing clauses in regard to property along Randall Road. Those have all expired, but this is proposed to be an industrial development. It's going to be a warehousing facility or multiple facilities of a type that would have trucks come and go and deliver and whatnot. So it's highly likely that there'll be no sales tax involved. The village in the past, in regard to this boundary line agreement, has also had real estate tax sharing clauses. And so for this proposed new development, which wants to go to the city of Elgin, of course, for the sewer and water facilities that are right there, the city is offering a 5-year real estate tax sharing proposal to amend the agreement so that this property would then be on the Elgin side of the line. There are 4 or 5 years left on the agreement that we have now. Elgin has been coy about whether they're going to move to renew that at the end of that term. So that this proposal is to share for the next 5 years 50% of the sales tax that would result from this new development. Now, it's going to be a huge building, so there will be some taxes there, real estate taxes. And I guess the question tonight is are there questions? And would be a consensus of the board to go ahead with this and then make this amendment, bring it back for a vote? Any comments or questions?
Would the 5 years begin once the building is erected? Or I heard you say that there's still a period right now that we're within a 5-year period of an original agreement?
Well, yes, we did a 20-year agreement in the past. It's going to expire sometime in 2025 or 26. There's no real estate tax sharing that's outstanding under that agreement, and there's no sales tax sharing. It's all been satisfied from the last amendment that was done. The real estate tax sharing would start in the first full year after occupancy. So once the building not only erected but put to use and the taxes are fully established for an entire tax year, then the sharing would commence.
Thank you. I see that in point 1 here. Thanks for the clarification. That's all I had.
And Mark, how does that, so I know it takes a while once a building is built for the property to get, appraised and on the tax rolls at the proper value. How would that work with this agreement?
Well, the year it's built, the taxes are prorated. So right now it's 5 residential properties, if I understand correctly. Those residences would be purchased and demolished. Then a new 400,000, I think, square foot building would be erected. And after it's complete, in that year, there's a proration. So much of the year is the prior tax. And from the date it's complete going forward, is the new tax. So we're saying the tax would start on the next year, which means no money would come to Sleepy Hollow till 18 months later, when that tax bill gets paid. But it
And
would
then
be then taxed at its full industrial, current value.
in 5 years after that, after it's the first year, it's taxed the full amount? Or would the
Yes,
agreement start now?
No, the 5 years would run from and after that first full year of taxation.
Would there be any interest in going longer or longer at a lower percentage?
It's all arithmetic. I could, I know last fall I kind of looked at what this might mean, what the dollars might be, but sure, I mean, if it was longer at a lesser percentage and ended up being more money or the same money, but Elgin's not interested in doing it that way. I can tell you, they're willing to do something, but they like to get it off their books, so to speak. In fact, I can give you an example. We're right now auditing the last sales tax sharing payment, and the village determined that there was an error, and now the city has admitted that, and now we've got to get down to the dollars and cents of that. But they thought it was done, and they owed one more payment, basically. So it's just a bookkeeping problem for them. They're willing to do something, but will want to close it out as early as possible. We can ask, and we can do some math if that's what you want to do, but.
Mark, didn't we start with 10 years on this? And they came back with 5?
Yes.
Does that give you a clue, Joe?
Yeah, and maybe that's just the amount. So I don't know. I think I'd rather have funds for a longer period of time at lesser amount than the short term. It's kind of my feeling.
But what I feel from Elgin is that the end of when this current agreement expires, they're just going to abandon it. Now that Randall Road is kind of determined, I think they're just going to walk away. And so they don't want to extend this out longer when they're going to close the whole chapter. But I don't know that. They haven't said it that way, but we could look at it.
What's the desire of the board? Continue to negotiate with them, or?
I would just go with the 5-year as stated with the 50% in option 1 or point 1 here on Mr. Schuster's proposal. Just keeps it clean.
I would tend to agree with Anthony on this one.
Okay,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that because I don't want them just to walk away from this one as well. So.
Hey, Mark, if this will kick in or one for 5 years, that 20-year agreement will have expired. It run then, right? And
correct.
This will extend it just for the real estate taxes?
Well, that's what we'd be doing. That's what I expect would be the end result. Yes. We'll amend it. We'll amend it for this amendment. We'll provide for the payment for 5 years after the first full year, or 4 years after the first full year, and then the whole thing will expire.
And the rest of the property boundary agreement will not survive then. It'll just be this real estate tax portion.
Correct. And frankly, what's at issue is Frontenac.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Frontenac.
The Frontenac, yeah, because this line went down Randall Road and then it came around and went down Bonkoski Road, or I'm sorry, the tollway, and Sleepy Hollow reserved rights to the Frontenac area. I don't think Elgin's going to contest that. They'll just say we'll see what happens there. Now that Randall Road is all sorted out, I'm anticipating that they'll feel that there's no compelling need for a boundary line agreement in the future.
Anthony, you want to make a motion to accept the boundary agreement as presented?
Certainly, I would like to make a motion to accept the boundary agreement that's outlined in Mr. Schuster's letter dated March 1st, 2021, that asks for a period of 5 years, an amount equal to 50% of the real estate taxes received by the city of Elgin.
Arnie seconds.
Moved by Moreno, seconded by Harney. Any further comments, questions, or discussion?
Does that motion include the sales tax portion of the agreement also?
Sure.
Yes, it would, based on Mr. Schuster's letter of March 1st.
No further comments or questions, discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Moreno,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Merkel,
Aye.
Mr. Harney.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes. The motion so passes. Okay. We will notify Elgin and move forward. Okay, that's it for the president's report. Clerk's report.
The only thing I have tonight is that we received late this afternoon the proof or the draft of the spring 2021 newsletter. I forwarded that electronically to all of you for your review. Sorry about the late passage of that, but I wanted to make sure each one of you got it. That's the only thing I have.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Planning and zoning, no report. Attorney's report, Mr. Schuster.
Nothing else tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Engineers report, Mr. Steele, you've got a couple of items here this evening.
Pierce, I do. First off is the ComEd permit request work order. You can read the numbers. We received that permit last week, end of last week, so we'll be reviewing that. I also noticed on here that Tony put down distribution automation project. Is that a permit that I'm unaware of, or?
That was in the packet that was forwarded to everyone.
Okay, so I think it's the same permit that's in there, so that's the same permit application. Just from my quick look at it, it looks like it's just a replacement of some telephone poles and the replacement of equipment on those telephone poles. But once I review it, I'll have it for the next board meeting for approval. Other than that, any questions?
Okay, so work order 16071-061?
Yeah, I have not approved that yet. I have not.
Okay, you're working on that.
Yeah.
All right. And the distribution automation project?
That's part of the first.
That's part of this, okay. That's all part of this, okay. So this we will see again next month, or
Yep.
the 15th.
Yep, 15th, yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Jeff?
No, other than later is just the water study well map is, Joe, do you want me to talk about that now, or?
I just put that in there. Yeah, you can talk about it. Just that was for information.
I was gonna say, yeah, maybe 8 years ago or something like that, when we did the last water study, is we had created a well map based off of the well locations of residents that were actually on wells. That has since been updated, and in your packet is, you can see a copy of that. I noticed that the quality is a little not up to par. So if you actually want a better copy of it, I can get that to whoever wants that.
And Jeff is actually going to be adding all those wells to the village PDF map on a layer, so that if the fire department needed it, or public works needed it, or the police department needed it for any reason, you know, a fuel spill or whatever reason, we have it. And that, and I believe also, Jeff, you're going to add the source
Yeah,
there too.
yeah, I was just going to mention that is, along with that is everybody who's on well and how everybody's been billed. So,
yeah. And then the other thing we've been working on that Jeff has been working on with the information he has, and Kyle, just since we're in this part, on the worst of the worst water mains. So he's been working on that, has a list, kind of came up with just a linear foot to be replaced, and Brian's gonna be working on some numbers for us in the future about how we're gonna finance that. Is there some possible grants in that in the future, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, there's always grants that are coming out. However, when it comes to public improvements, is every village within the state wants a piece of it, and typically they only offer, like $10 million or whatever, and so it's very, very competitive. But a good thing to do is actually pre-plan for it and actually have a plan all set as far as location wise and everything. That way, when it does come up, is you can present to them saying, hey, we're actually ready to construct this. So that's actually a better rating in their eyes.
So, and just to let everybody know, the last fiscal year we spent, and Kyle, let me know if these numbers are wrong, but I figured about $100,000 in cost outs for parts and outside vendors to come in and repair things. This year we're just over $76,000. So, you run those numbers out at $100,000 a year for 10 years, you spend $1 million, 30 years, you spent $3 million. And we still have the same water mains that need to be replaced. So it's just something we just need to start working on. Kyle, you agree? Is that kind of where we're at, Kyle? Is that because you're out there and you see the mains break and they're just literally just falling apart?
Yeah, they're 95% of our problems are all on a particular main. So and they're just kind of throwing money into the fire.
Yeah. So I mean, it's when Joe Hines was here when we did the pigging project and Steve was on there, we actually broke some mains because they were so bad. And the recommendation 20 years ago was to replace some of these older ones, which we've just, when, as Steve always says, kicking the can down the street. And, you look at where all that money would have gone if we started, just 20 years ago. It's just, it's time to look at how we want to spend our money.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Anything else for the engineers? All right, thank you, Jeff. Finance, approval of the accounts payable for March 1st, 2021. We have a motion so approved.
I move, Moreno, that we approve the warrants totaling $76,427.63 for March the 1st.
Second, Diatley.
Moved by Moreno, seconded by Diatley to approve the warrants of $76,427.63. Any comments, questions, additions, or deletions? There being none, roll call, please.
Mr. Moreno,
Aye.
Mr. Datley,
Aye.
Mr. Nimick,
Aye.
Mr. Merkel,
Aye.
Mr. Harney.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes. The motion so passes. Okay, next item is the comments from the public. We've had one sent to us this evening by Miss Carver. She would like this read into the board. Topic, Pledge of Allegiance. Quote, I am commenting today to thank you all for including the Pledge of Allegiance in the meeting minutes. However, the minutes of January 4th have no mention of the Pledge of Allegiance in them. That must have been an oversight since the February 1st minutes do. Try to remember to put a mention of the minutes in all minutes, a mention of the pledge in all minutes. Also, we were unable to hear the Pledge of Allegiance at the last meeting because the broadcast started late. The video indicated the full video would be posted in a few days, but that did not happen. As a result, the pledge is not heard. Perhaps wait to start the meeting until the camera is filming. You can say you want a tax increase, so let's not do things that upset the voting public, such as forgetting and not broadcasting the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance is very important to our country. Thank you, unquote. Okay, trustee reports, roads and parks, Mr. Harney.
Oh, just one quick thing. I think we just put in our last order for road salt. Maybe Kyle would like to just mention how we're going to assume there's no more big storms, but how are we sitting total wise after that order comes in?
Be pretty close to the threshold of what we have to order of 580 tons. So expecting another 100 tons to be delivered And that'll put about 225 tons in the salt barn for the rest of the year and into next year.
And that's about what we had left over from last year, so. Sounds good. Nothing else to report, Mr. President.
I just had a quick question, Ed.
Yeah.
On, you know, and Kyle's done, and Public Works has done an excellent job, amazing job in clearing the roads and the ice, you know, with the salt. There are some areas of the circles or the grass areas that, you know, because of snow being on them, gets chewed up by the plows. The dirt gets, you know, ripped up and so forth. Do we have plans that once, you know, springtime comes, that those grass areas get repaired?
We will restore any areas where we know that we did it with our equipment. A lot of times it's private contractors too that are half the problem. But anywhere where we know where we went off the road a little bit, we'll go back and put some topsoil and grass seed down.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's it for roads and parks. Finance, Don is not here, but I can tell you that the finance guy has started working on the budget for fiscal year 2022. And we hope to have that done by the end of April, going into the 1st of May. Okay, next item, water and sewer, Mr. Nemec.
A couple of things. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Florence. Give him a shout out here because he did a survey for us and got us some numbers. We did a survey about how many residents would be interested in going to an electronic, I want to say electronic. It was basically an online bill payment and utility system where you would log into your account, you could pay it electronically. I believe you could still pay it with a check in the box. The initial, when we first got the quote from this company, we figured we needed at least 70 people before we'd break even, and then start anybody after that, we'd get a cost reduction. We had, we saw in the packet there in front of me here. Those are the numbers. We had several people who took the time to type in that tiny URL, go there and put those numbers in. So I guess I just want to see how the board wants to pursue this. I can have Wendy start contacting them and we can get some more details and see if this would really work out. But I was surprised on the interest. So what's everybody's thoughts on that?
I'd like to see it.
Yeah,
I think
let's pursue it. Why not? Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be a good thing.
And Steve and I saw the presentation this summer when they first gave it to us. And it's very nice. You can look back at past bills, you can look at your water bill. It's not just an online payment system. It's the whole system is online. Would you not say it was pretty keen, Steve, when you saw it?
He's fading. Joe, you're coming and going on us.
Okay, hang on, let me turn my mic up.
If you don't say anything, we don't know if you're talking.
Well, I had to justify him. Is that better?
There we go.
Okay, so what did you hear there?
Nothing.
Nothing, okay. As I said, it was a pretty, so it's payment, looking at your bills, you can go back, Steve. I mean, when we saw the presentation last year, it was pretty nice. It was, so I will direct Wendy to give him a call, make contact, and start seeing if we can make the numbers work for us. The other thing I had was, well, just to let everybody know, I'm having Wendy give me quarterly reports. Right now we have 30 late counts on the water. 8 houses are leaned. 1 house is shut off. It's for working out to about $7,800 worth. So just to keep right advised, which is pretty typical of what she runs and what other villages run too. So I talked to West Dundee one time, and they have a list of certain homes that they don't pay their bills until they see them walking up the door with the red tag, and they have a check in hand for them. So it's pretty typical. So the other thing that came up in this whole sewer issue at West Dundee and some of these audits is most municipalities charge $5 per unit in multiple unit buildings, such as apartments and condos and the like. Our water system is set so that the water fees pay for just the purchases of water to Elgin. And the demand fee that you pay covers Kyle's cost and maintenance and billing and all that. So are we interested in pursuing that route for a add to the water bill? The cost involved would just be Mark's ordinance, which is normally $100, $150. Is there any interest in that or not?
I'm just not clear what you're asking for.
Well,
Joe.
but most villages charge, so for apartment buildings, condos, so for the demand fee, the apartments are charged the $25 demand fee per building for their 4 buildings. And each one of those buildings has what, 22 to 25 units, Steve? Does that sound about right?
20 to 25, yes.
Yeah. So, and each homeowner pays the same fee. So what most villages do is they charge a little excess fee there for buildings that have multiple units in it. So that's apartments, condos as such. We've never done that in the past. Would we be interested in changing our water billing ordinance to include that in there? Knowing that.
Was there a reason we didn't charge them in the past?
I think it was just an oversight, or we just
Yeah,
never
okay.
happened.
Try to keep the price down.
Yeah, okay.
So our billing structure has changed from it was originally set up that the water fees were charged, that the idea was use more water, you paid more into the system. We've since over the years slowly but surely transitioned into water pays for water, because I believe, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, or Ed, or Sue would probably know, we used to have the old agreement with Elgin, we were limited to the amount of water that we could have.
Yes.
So that we had a rate structure such that people wanted to conserve water.
That was the original reason that we had lawn watering every other day, or
Yeah.
alternate addresses.
So it comes down to
addresses could water on even number days, odd number addresses could water on odd number days.
So what it comes down to now is that, a household that has, 2 to 6 people in it pays the same amount as the apartment building that has 20 units in it, plus however many people in each one of those units. So the idea being, I think most places feel that building should contribute a little bit more to the infrastructure of the water system, because that demand fee is just infrastructure fee.
Do each of those individual apartments pay their own water bill, or does the apartment building pay the water bill and the residents get assessed from that?
Each building has its own meter. So each building, so the building itself, pays a water bill for all the units within the building.
And do the residents in that building pay anything?
We don't know.
We don't know. It would just be part of their rent. They're not metered, so there'd be no way of them billing them separately.
I see what you're saying. I'd be in favor of having some type of a assessment for the individual number of apartments in the building.
I would agree with that. I think that there's multiple units there, and I think that has to be accounted for.
George, you said it would be $25 a month per building?
No, that's what our demand fee is right now, is $25. So it seems like the typical rate is $5 for be the $25 demand fee plus $5 per unit, I think is what seems to be the going rate around.
So it'd be another $100 per building, more or less.
More or less, yeah.
20 to 25 units, right?
Yeah.
$5, yep.
I would say I would agree with that option.
Mark, can you give me a call tomorrow and we'll pound it out and have an ordinance for the next meeting then, if the board so chooses?
Well, I'm not sure I could call you tomorrow, but we'll have an ordinance for the next meeting.
Okay. Well, give me a call before you write the ordinance up so we can talk about it. So
yes, I will do that.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Very good. Okay. We're okay. Because we can't make a motion now because it's not on the agenda. So that's, and I think that is all I have for now, unless there's any questions on any of this.
No questions. All right. Thank you, Joe.
No, thank you, everybody.
Police and public safety, Mr. Diatley.
Chief has included several things in your packet, and I'll let you all read those at your leisure. I do want to just say I appreciate the chief's efforts and our department's efforts for keeping up with all the changes there are in law enforcement these days. We all know there's a lot of changes coming down the pipe, and Chief and the whole department has done a good job on staying up to date on them and keeping us in compliance with all the things that are out there changing. So thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that's all I have, President Pickett.
All right, thank you, Steve. Public buildings and environment, Tom?
No report.
Markle? No report, thank you, Tom. Building and zoning, Mr. Perino.
I just wanted to thank the chief and 3 officers. The other day on my street over here, we had a runaway dog from Carrington, and I noticed it out the front window. Another friend of mine was walking her dog, and I ran out with the leash we have, because the other one was a pretty big Labrador. Let's put it this way. My arms were like Popeye, like they used to be like Popeye arms, but they were more like olive oil arms after I dealt with this dog. But just wanted to thank them. The guys came out right away. We actually had to stay on the block for about 25 minutes until the owner returned from the O'Hare area. And but all 3 officers were great, and just kind of hung out. And fortunately, it wasn't 10 below 0. So, but thanks, Chief, because it's all I called and and we called non-emergency number, and you guys were on the scene pretty quick. So appreciate it.
Glad we could help.
That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Old business, we've got the explanation of the referendum, which we said we would just take to the latter part of March to publish. So we'll put that on the 15th of March's agenda to, once again, if we want to review it again. Other than that, Joe, did we get a ComEd bill from 922?
Wendy said no. I'm going to defer to Kyle again here. And Kyle, have you heard anything at all from them? And just, you weren't at the last meeting. I kind of briefed everyone what happened.
I haven't heard a word, so.
They did say that you did tell them to submit the bill and last year's bill for the same time period, or
Correct.
if they wanted to. Okay. And just, you want to brief everybody how the deck issue is settled too, or
All right.
you advise?
We can move on.
What? I didn't hear.
So we can move on.
No, I just want to make sure since it's also 922 at will, I just want to make sure the other issue was dealt with. Kyle, they're happy with that, or you advise them of that?
We have not crossed that road yet.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Anthony, let's take it off the agenda until they submit something.
Will do. Okey-doke. We'll take it off till we see a submission. Okay, moving on. Any other old business to come before the board? Old business to come before the board, new business. Hydrant fee for 1508, 1512, 1507, 1517 Laurel Court.
Yes, I will move. You saw the information in your packets. I will move that we start charging the residents at 1508, 1512, 1507, and 1517 Laurel Court for the hydrant fee, and we will not charge them for the time that the main was put into the state because of the omission on our part to notice that they should be charging a hydrant fee.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Going once, going twice.
Second, Diatley.
Yeah.
Moved by Nemec to assess the hydrant fees on 1508, 1512, 1507, and 1517 Laurel Court. Seconded by Diatley. Any comments, questions, or discussion?
In the note, the letter also mentions some addresses on Sycamore Lane.
That might be from a prior notice.
I'm just looking at what was in the packet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's page 42.
I'm hanging on page 42.
Page 42.
Oh, that just describes where the water main was.
The water
Okay.
main came from Sycamore up to Laurel
Okay,
to,
Yeah.
and is now in the vicinity of the 4 properties on Laurel.
So just
Okay.
think, so the history was that we put the water main in and we should have been charging a Heinrich fee as soon as it went in. It was omission on our part. So Mark wrote up these letters and sent them to him, and they're gonna start charging him July 1st to give him a little time. But we just, as Mark said, legally, we could have gone back to the time the water main was installed in 2014, and that would just not be the right thing to do. So just want to make sure that that's on the books, that we're not going to charge them for that.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah.
okay, any other comments or questions, discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Moreno,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Merkel,
Aye.
Mr. Harney,
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the motion still passes. Any other new business to come before the board?
That's one thing I want to bring up because it's fresh in my head, and I just saw the newsletter about the vehicle stickers going out. Somebody had pointed out to me the other day that we charge full price for antique vehicles. And I talked to Steve about this, and he said, had me look it up, and the state basically charges 33% of the full of what a license plate would go for an antique, officially antique vehicle. And it's too late for this year, but we might want to think about next year decreasing the cost for antique classic vehicles with those license plates on, because there is a special category for that, correct?
Yeah, you can get a special plate for that, correct? How many are there in the village? Do we know? Have we looked?
One less, now that I sold my Z.
I have 2.
Yeah, I know there's at least 10. So,
Okay.
there's probably more of those than there are the veteran discount and this, so.
Okay.
It just seems like
I
the right thing to do.
keep, in mind for next year when we redo the vehicle sticker thing, so. Okay, any other new business to come before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Harney.
Vote Marshall. Motion to adjourn by Merkel, seconded by Harney. Roll call, please.
Mr. Merkel,
Aye.
Mr. Harney,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Moreno,
Aye.
Mr. Dattley.
Aye.
It's always unanimous.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes. We are adjourned. We will see you on the Ides of March.
Later, gentlemen.
Have a good
Later.
evening.
Good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.